women don't take care of themselves. We don't. We grind and we push and we just, and we grind some more and we do all the things until we're like dying on the floor. We're taking care of everyone else, our friends, our parents, our children, everyone else, and we're dying on the floor. So we were talking about that and what could we come up with as a tool that we could give people to kind of just to help them pause and slow down a little bit.
Everyone in that circle of women, and I've heard this in corporations as well as in communities, they had two things that were in common: the pause and also being present. Desiring to get better at being present where they were so that they could have joy and also share joy with the other people. So pausing and being present, and the different practices throughout the entire book and journal are about helping to fulfill that opportunity more fully, especially for women.
Hey, welcome to the Amberly Lago Show. Today I have two of the most amazing guests here with me today, Amy P. Kelly and Julie Nee here with us. They are actually members of my mastermind called the Unstoppable Life Mastermind and the authors of their newest book, You Grow Girl. And they also have a journal. I'm just going to pick this up right now. Their journal, it's amazing. And you know what? We are going to get right into all the value that they share in their book. I mean, they're doing amazing things all over the country. They speak at conferences. They're actually speaking at the Unstoppable Life Mastermind event coming up. But welcome to the show. Julie, Amy, thank you for being here, and I can't wait to share so much I've got pages of notes of all of your book, of what you're able to share, so thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us. We're so excited about this.
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, I know you have something which I love, that it makes it easy for people to learn and remember how to have that growth mindset and that growth mentality, is you have something called Cultivate that you break down as an acronym. And I know we won't get to every part of it, but I would love to get to some parts of Cultivate. So Julie, could you first give us what the acronym means, Cultivate?
Yes. So Cultivate, really the subtitle of the book is Plant and Pursue the Power of You. So this Cultivate structure that we built is all about helping women of all ages and stages pursue their full potential and live into their full potential. So we created this acronym, Cultivate. And like you said, we won't get into all of it, but each one of those letters in the acronym, we love a good acronym, by the way.
Yes, we do.
Each one of the letters in the acronym is one of the chapter titles. So for example, the C in Cultivate is Create the Environment for Growth. The U is Unlock Courage and Confidence. The L is Love Yourself and Others. And I don't need to go through all of them, but you can get an idea of what we're talking about. We're starting about really foundationally with the C, create the environment for growth. And when we talk about that C, it's not just the physical environment around us, but actually the environment in our minds. That's such a huge part of it, and really starting with our mindset. Yeah. So that's just a little bit.
Well, I love that you talk about the mindset and all that you talk about, and it's not just about one thing, but cultivating everything to help you grow. And I think so often times people just, especially when they look on social media, they're like, well, it should just happen overnight. And people don't know how to have that delayed gratification. And something that you talk about in your book is about the appreciation and having the delayed gratification. How would you encourage someone to appreciate their journey along the way when it's hard being an entrepreneur sometimes?
Do you want me to take that, or do you want, okay, you want to take it? Okay.
I think all I could think about, Amberly, was just the fact that that's one of the reasons why we have the journal. I'm just going to pick it up because It has, in the cultivate structure that Julie just talked about, there are 9 letters. So we have 9, 10-day increments for people. And by pausing and by planting seeds and by reflecting and by having gratitude, they're all different stops to help you appreciate that progress and appreciate and be present in what you're enjoying today while you still grow. Even coloring pages. So we talk about practices, and one of the practices to help appreciate progress is to pause. To pause.
And I would love to add on to that a couple things too. One, on appreciating progress, we talked about really teaching ourselves how to appreciate the small things, because I think our human nature is, I am going to achieve this huge thing and I'm going to get it tomorrow, right? I've been there. I remember when I took the leap from corporate America into this entrepreneurship journey and started being a speaker, and I thought I was going to be just crushing it day one. And it was so unbelievable when it took years, and the amounts of money, which were so small at the beginning that I was making, it was, at first I didn't feel like appreciating that progress because it felt like so far from where I was. But as soon as you can shift into actually appreciating the small little moments of progress, think about it. And again, we're using the growing metaphor a lot in this and cultivate, but when you plant a seed, you're not seeing that seed sprout right away, right? We have to water it. It has to have sunshine. We have to nourish it. We have to do things so that seed is going to grow slowly. And then the other thing I want to add here is Amy just said something about pausing. We've been talking about this a lot. We had about 40 women in a room last Saturday together, and we asked the question, how do you want to grow next? And they each answered that question on how they want to grow next. And what we really heard is women don't take care of themselves. We don't. We grind and we push and we just, and we grind some more and we do all the things until we're like dying on the floor. We're taking care of everyone else, our friends, our parents, our children, everyone else, and we're dying on the floor. So we were talking about that, and what could we come up with as a tool that we could give people to kind of just to help them pause and slow down a little bit. So we thought
This is something I need, by the way.
I think everyone needs
So we're going to invite you to be part of this with us then,
Yes.
and we can make it a trio. But what we thought of is this idea of what we call a pause partner. So you hold each other, accountable is maybe a strong word, but every day I will text Amy and I can say, here's how I paused today. And then I'm expecting her to send me a text back. And boy, even just since Saturday, there have been a lot with travel and lack of sleep. And
because y'all have been traveling a lot and doing a lot, and so that you can have each other accountable and be a partner to each other and do that is huge.
And one thing, one
that's
thing
a
that
lot.
came up along with the word pause, when you say plant and pursue the power of you, it almost connotates fast movement, right? Because we're movers, we're shakers, and everyone in that circle of women, and I've heard this in corporations as well as in communities, they had 2 things that were in common: the pause and also being present. Desiring to get better at being present where they were so that they could have joy and also share joy with the other people. So pausing and being present, and the different practices throughout the entire book and journal are about helping to fulfill that opportunity more fully, especially for women.
Oh, I love that. And I also love that in your book you talk about self-love, which I think that self-love is a term that's tossed around a lot, especially on social media. And sometimes people think that, oh, self-love, that means taking a bath bomb bath, a bubble bath, whatever it is. But for me, it means a lot more, because there was a time in my life where I hated myself. And really, after my accident, I just hated myself. I hated the way that I looked. I hated the way I felt. I hated my life, everything. And being able to love myself again has been a huge thing for me, to show my daughters that they can love me, that they can love themselves, that I'm worthy enough that my husband loves me and this and that. So in a world where self-love is thrown around a lot, what could you say for somebody who is struggling to show themselves some self-love?
Well, for me too, it starts with your identity of where your worth and value comes from. So I mentioned this in the book, and there are lots. It starts with, who does God see you to be, and accepting his love. And in addition to that, I think what you just said is important in the home, in the workplace, out in the community. Working on this allows other women and men, but to be free to do this as well. When we're not taking care of ourselves, we all know that we set an example that says this is the way to be busy, to be frantic, to be not, harried, because that means you're doing great things. And so what do? First, you pause and you get to know yourself, and you think about the things that you're talking to yourself and telling yourself that you're not lovable in some way. I mean, many people do that. What is in your head? And so we talk about, how do you inventory that? How do you pay more attention to it? And then how do you specifically and intentionally change that? Because what we say over and over again to ourselves, we start to believe.
Yeah.
And most women, by the time you're 30, 40, 50, you've been telling yourself a few things for a long time, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done to change that.
Well, I love that's one part of your book that y'all have is affirmations on how to shift your mindset. So, Julie, can you talk a little bit about the power of affirmations and how that has impacted your life and how it can impact other people's lives as well?
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, I use affirmations all the time, and this isn't probably going to be new for any of your listeners. A lot of people talk about affirmations, and the reason a lot of people are talking about them is because they work and they're powerful.
But hey, can I just say one thing that I think I have it highlighted here? I'm real excited that you have I am unstoppable as well.
Oh, don't you know where that came from.
Yes.
You know where that came from.
As one of your affirmations. You have I'm amazing. The second one is I am unstoppable. Yeah, that's
I'm unstoppable.
squared. Yeah. So just had to highlight that I have that in the book.
Yeah, and I just talking about affirmations, I think everyone is in kind of a different place on any given day of their life, right? And I think it's awesome to do affirmations when you feel good and you're making a strong self stronger. I am strong, I am worthy, I am unstoppable, I am all the things, right? But I will say, there was a time in my life where I didn't feel any of those things. So I went through a breast cancer experience in 2019, and after chemo, I had lost all my hair, and the hair I could kind of manage. Like I could manage that with wigs and all the things.
But that's still hard.
It was hard. I'm not saying it was easy.
Because as a woman, that's like my hair was falling out and it's just stopped not falling out. And there's something to be said just for that alone. So I don't want to skip over that. Like that alone. Going through cancer, yes. But losing your hair as a woman, another thing.
Right.
And
So-
how did you get through that?
Yeah, and I think the hair was hard, but you can put on a wig, or I had a little baseball cap with hair that was like the best thing ever. I've sent the link to everyone I know who has gone through it, unfortunately. But for me, the crushing blow was really when my eyebrows and eyelashes fell out. So if you think the hair is bad, when your face is erased, you really say mean things to yourself. And I was saying awful things to myself. You're so ugly, you're scary, you're horrible, just all the things. And my kids would try to say, you're beautiful and all the things, and I wouldn't believe them. And I finally had to start saying to myself, you are strong, you are courageous, you are a warrior, all those things. I wasn't saying you're beautiful because I wasn't, and there was no convincing me that I was, but I could say much more empowering words. So I think just for people who are in a hard place, don't tell yourself something you don't believe. Tell yourself something you can believe. I was courageous and I was a warrior and I was fighting really hard. I didn't feel beautiful, but I did feel courageous. So I think use them wherever you are.
Gosh, that is so important to share, and such a difference between what so many people tell you to go, oh, just say these affirmations. No, say what you can really put some belief behind.
Yes.
That's incredible. Well, I have so many questions for y'all. I could literally be on here with you for the show for hours. But Amy, I want to talk to you about the power of visualization, because I'm a firm believer in visualization, and you talk about this in the book. And for me, as long as I could visualize myself doing the thing, and I didn't know this as a young girl, but when I was a kid, young, I could visualize myself doing 4 pirouettes. I could do 4 pirouettes. If I couldn't, I couldn't do it. If I could visualize myself acing that test, I could do it. If I could visualize myself coming in first for that track meet, I could do it. There is so much behind visualization. Can you talk a little bit about visualization?
Sure, and you're absolutely right. And one thing about this for us, you know, athletes use this, entrepreneurs use just seeing, and then they also write it down and they are able to speak it to other people, because then people can see themselves as a part. And the reason I'm bringing up others with visualization is when we can get clear on that future that we're looking to create, we can start to see how we can move forward toward it, and other people can see how they can be a part of the process. Really, inside women, when we think about You Grow Girl too, this is, I'll just say, and I'll own it, this is a strength of mine about vision. And what I've found with it is I want to help other women see those things about themselves. We can share with each other. I see this about what you just told me you want to do this. Well, let's talk about it. Let's make it real so that we can empower each other to be more clear on what that looks like and how you can explain it, because you're fantastic at this. When you're visualizing and you start to document and start to prepare for that vision, other people say, oh, I can help you with that. Oh, I can see exactly what you want to do and what you want to talk about. I'm going to introduce you to this person. Oh, write it, send it to me in an email. And so visualization not only helps to make it real for you, but it helps other people participate, and especially the other women in your life. Once Julie and I sat down and talk about the vision, we speak it, we write things down, we're asking the women to do that. Visualization helps you to create the future that you're imagining. And it's companies do it for a reason, because when you vision something, you know, I always put my hand over my eyes just to think about, it doesn't exist yet, but when I can describe to you the place that we want to go in such grand detail that you're saying, I see it too. And guess what? I want to help you with that. And we can help each other.
Y'all, I've got goosebumps. Aww. Seriously, because like we have a small studio audience here today, other ladies of the mastermind. And you know what? It has been putting this event that I've had is like my vision for creating unstoppable success, that I've had you guys come. I mean, I met y'all, I think, the first time speaking at a John Gordon event. And I was like, oh my God, I love these women. And then you ended up joining my mastermind. And then I had Kim and Jen, oh my goodness, I'm talking in the audience, y'all. Join my mastermind, because I think we all have this vision of let's have unstoppable success, and let's do it together. Together we're unstoppable. But you were going to say something.
Well, I just remember Julie telling me, because she knew about you and of you first, and she was like, Amberly is coming to our event. And I got to learn about you, look forward to that. And it was amazing when you were there. I just remember how excited you were. And it was all for a good reason, because.
Oh my goodness. I'm a huge fan of John Gordon and of both of you and all that your work that you do and your work that you do with him. And just shout out to him real quick that he is the biggest deal. Like, he's total legitness.
He's legit.
And coming to speak at my event,
It's real.
he's the real deal. And my daughter says legitness. I'm like, yeah, he is total legitness.
And so is his wife. They're just legitness personified.
And Catherine is one of my best friends in the world. Seriously, she is really one of my best friends.
I love that.
And I have told my husband, I'm like, oh my gosh, John is the biggest event. He's the event. Like John Gordon coming to speak at the Unstoppable event with Amberly Lago.
Let's go.
Holy cow. He is the most humble, like best, like servant leader who you get on, like on stage and off stage is the same. Although I've stayed with them at their house, and he's actually even more fun off stage. Him and his family, they're so fun. We crack up. But yeah, I'm so grateful that he's coming to speak at the event, and I'm so grateful that because of him, I got to meet y'all. Yay. And I know we're running out of time, but I have more questions. I've got pages, okay?
I love it. Bring it on.
I've got pages. Okay, so people that look, I know, and I didn't even have this written down. Well, I don't have this written down. There are a lot of times where people, especially on social media, everything looks easy. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to grow with their mindset, with physically, spiritually, mentally. They want to grow, and they're impatient because I think a lot of times everybody is in this mindset where they're like, they want it now. We are, with everything that comes easy, like with TikTok and instant likes and instant follows, they want to just go, oh, easy gratification. How do you promote delayed gratification? How can you share something, either one of you who want to share, to show people, hey, have some patience, get some delayed gratification?
There's so many layers to that question, I think. And this is such an overused quote, but it's so true. And it's that quote of comparison is the thief of joy. But the truth is, we write about being you. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Be uniquely you. We were all created to be special for a reason. And just because someone else's journey, you're seeing it on social media, number one, it doesn't mean it's true. And number two, it's not the journey for you. So what is your path meant to be? And I think as long as people can really decide that they don't have to be like everybody else, that's part of it, of course, just taking the comparison out. But then it goes back to what we talked about earlier, and that is appreciating the progress you are making. And you can't really appreciate the progress if you're not noticing the progress. You have to open your eyes and look for it, whether that's a journal, whether that's jotting it down on a note on your phone,
whether that's a journal.
No, but really, I mean, if it's celebrating with a buddy or a colleague or a friend or a child or a spouse, like just saying, hey, you know what, I'm really proud of myself. I made this single step forward today, whatever it is. But we have to take notice of what's happening, because a lot of times we're just running so fast, and it's on to the next and on to the next and on to the next. And I forgot to stop and notice that, wow, I actually did some really cool things yesterday, last week, last quarter, last year. But we don't take time to slow down and notice it. So I think part of it is just kind of slowing down a little bit. And I just want to say one more thing about slowing down, since we're coming back to it. I brought us back to it. We're all grinding, right? And we're all busy. And we have spouses and kids and travel and events and all the things. And this morning I got up at 4 something to get to the airport
I
and
saw
all the
that
things.
on Instagram, by the
But
way.
the truth is, it was great because my driver said to me at the beginning, I don't really speak English. Her car was completely quiet. She had no music on, and it was dark outside still when I went to the airport. So I literally took that time in the lift to just think about what I was grateful for, get my mindset right for the day. I prayed for some people, just really getting grounded. So even though I was, quote, dashing from home to the airport at 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was, even in the dashing, I could take some time to kind of re-ground myself. So I think we just have to find the pockets where we can find them. They're not always the ideal pocket, like a spa day or whatever.
Yeah,
but it's just, you got to
exactly.
take those pockets and find time to kind of re-ground yourself and focus on your own path.
I agree. And you know what? I need reminders. And that's why, like, on my desk in my office, I have this ceramic frog that my youngest daughter made for me. And it reminds me to fully rely on God. And then my youngest daughter also got me this ring. And it's this gold cross ring. And it says, "Let God." On the back of it, so I can see it. So when I look up, I'm like, let God. And for my daughter to like remind me of that and see that, it means the world to me. So I love that, and I think so much of what we're all reminded of today is, yes, we're all, as entrepreneurs, there's a hustle, it's a
Yes.
grind, but the reminder that there is grit, but we have to give ourselves the grace as well. And so, Julie, I want to ask you one last question. I know we're running out of time, but I want to ask you a question as far as feedback, because that's part of your cultivate, is like really taking in positive feedback. And I always say, you know what? Listen to not necessarily opinion, but go after somebody who is going to give you counsel, not opinion. So somebody who is actually, they've done the things that you want to do, and they're like, oh, I've done this already. I will never forget, I had just finished my event last year, and I had just signed the credit card receipt from the hotel for thousands for all the speakers and everything that I had paid for their hotel. And I had somebody that had attended the event who was giving me criticism. I love constructive criticism, but don't you go giving me criticism when you've never held an event on your own. You've never flipped the bill for something. Do you know what I mean? So I want to touch on this. How do you accept constructive criticism, and how do you say yes or no, thank you?
Well, we talk about inviting input, and an invitation is different than an ask. So I look for people that I can invite them, like you, who've done something that I really admire, that I'm looking to also get better at, and I will invite, not just ask, but say, I'd really like to invite you to share some of your experience and what truly you see are the opportunities inside of this. And I really invite the truth, and I want to receive that truth and be intentional about how you speak about it. But getting better at it is practicing. You know, you have to, there's a story in the book that I talk about. I led an entire development program on feedback at a company's corporate university once. And I missed our executive meeting and found out that one of my co-leaders, I was the only woman on that particular executive team, had said, you know, for leading this program about feedback, Amy's not very good at receiving it herself. And I realized that there was still it was fine. I thought, wow, I can't believe that he said that, because we were very close. But he said, I thought you needed to know, because the person who was, and he said, I would have told you if you were there, but you weren't there that day, and I thought you needed to know. And in addition to inviting it, I was inviting it genuinely, but I wasn't ready to receive it. And so preparing yourself to really receive it. I know that sounds so simple, but really thinking, just like you said about mindset, that this is something that I've asked for that will help me become stronger. And I'm also wanting to honor the person who took the time to give it. Regardless of what it is, I'm going to accept it. I'm going to receive it with grace and stand in it and be at peace with it, collect those things. And the way that you prepare matters, because then you're able to use it in the most powerful way to take steps forward to grow. And to your point earlier, I just wanted to share that one thing that has helped me and some other clients that I work with is that, when you put a seed in the ground and you pat it down and you lovingly water it, and it takes time. And you see those videos, you mentioned Instagram, everything's accelerated. But we know that when we stop, there's so much strength in that. And the growth process is not meant to be accelerated, in my opinion. You can develop yourself more quickly with tools and resources, but the actual growth will always occur over time, because you have to practice and apply. So that's true with feedback. You won't be perfect. You might have a face like, whoo, that hurt, but be ready through preparation of, I've asked for this, I admire this person, I want to honor them in receiving it, and then be ready to do something with it, right? Collect it. And if you see a pattern from people who maybe haven't, when you're talking about your event, how that person, it's harder to receive feedback from someone who's like, how do you have a point of reference to really be valid in giving me this input? But if the pattern is the same over the time, maybe there's a theme there. And then I would go back to someone who had done it and say, look at this theme. Do you think that's valid? Or do you think it's because maybe they don't know the whole picture of what this takes to do this thing? So it's intentional practice and process about being ready to receive feedback that I think is what people miss. And I certainly did.
Exactly. And I mean, I'm always open to feedback. And you know what? I tell you what, from my very first Unstoppable Summit, from the next one to this one, I have learned so much from every single thing. Every mistake that I've learned lessons from mistakes I've made more than ever, for sure. And every step along the way, I know I'm going to ask one last question, because it's hard sometimes when you've got these big dreams and your goals. And I mean, like, for sure, I've got my husband who thinks I'm crazy. Like, what are you doing? What, you want to write a book? What, you want to write another book? What, you want to do something called Unstoppable? The world just stopped down. And now he's like, I don't know what you've got going on, all these boxes coming to the house. He has no idea what he's getting himself into. Although he is picking John and Catherine up from the airport.
That's so cute.
So that's his part of the whole summit. That's his part. But I think so often something that stops so many people is having a belief in themselves. And you talk a lot in your book about how to believe in yourself, like how to start to have that belief mindset where you can keep going. Julie, can you share? You've got 3 tips on how to do that right away.
Well, one of my favorite ones, honestly, is looking at the record. I like to call it looking at the record, but really going back and saying, so I'll just use me being a speaker as an example. So 8.5 years ago, when I wanted to be a speaker, I left corporate America, I started speaking, and it was hard and it was taking a really long time, and I was starting to have some doubts and I was starting to have some imposter syndrome pop in. And so I had to build up my belief again. And one of the first things I did was I looked at the record and I realized, oh, that's interesting. I spoke at this event, I spoke at that national sales meeting, I ran this training program, I spoke at this, I did this, I interviewed these people, and I did all these things. And once I stacked it all up, I was like, oh, I am a speaker. I was a speaker. I wasn't a paid speaker, but I was a speaker. So I think for anyone who's starting to experience self-doubt, I really would encourage anyone to just go back and look at what you've already done. Because most of the time, if we have a big dream about something, we've already done some portion of it. We haven't maybe done it in the way that we want to do it. Maybe it's not on the big stages yet, or maybe it's not fully fleshed out, but I bet there's been some practice along the way that we've actually done. So that's probably my favorite thing to build that belief, is to just go back look at the record and prove to yourself that you've already done it, because what that's doing is telling your brain, oh yeah, I have done that. So I guess if I did it then, I can probably do it again, right? So that's my favorite one. Do you want to add anything to that?
Well, I think it goes to one of the components of belief is the fact that we all have a purpose. And when you realize that purpose that is unique to you, you don't have to, it's kind of a combination of things that are in the book. You don't have to compare. You don't have to worry that you're not one place over another. You can be at peace. And when you have that peace, you can believe. Like, I know that the vision is there for a reason, and it is unique to me. And believe in that. Like, you just start taking actions toward how does that become a reality. And I also advocate to say to someone, you know, I need your help. I'm struggling with believing in myself right now.
Yeah.
And can you help me? And oftentimes we laugh with each other because she'll say something and I've done the same exact thing, but I'll say, are you kidding me? Let's talk about it in the most sincere way, because we all need that.
Yeah.
We need that reminder. So between looking at our purpose, understanding that God created all of us to do something amazing, and then, you know, going to our friends and our confidants and really giving them, you know, Petra told me this really recently. She said, when you don't allow me to say these nice things to you, you're a robber. And I said, a robber? Wow, you know, and she said, yeah, you're robbing me of the opportunity to enjoy building up a woman that I believe in so much. And so I never really went and asked people and said, Amberly, and your mastermind has helped me with that, because going in, we're not aggrandizing each other. We're appreciating the vision that each woman has. And we're genuinely looking for ways to help, but we're not rushing each other.
Yeah.
And so all those things come together, and it helps, it fulfills that need to have the courage of belief inside of you. You do a little of it yourself, and you make sure not to miss the opportunity to actually rely on other people, because a lot of us don't do that. I know that was not a strength of mine, is to let people help me believe.
Yes, it's borrowing, right? It's borrowing the belief. So if you don't have enough, you can borrow some from me, and vice versa. And same, right?
Exactly.
Petra, when she said, you're a robber, I was like, a robber? Woo!
Yeah, and you know what? Something similar happened to me when I had a lady at the gym give me a compliment, and I was like, oh, no. She goes, really? Well, that is just selfish of you. I'm giving you a gift, and you said no to me.
Wow.
And I was like, oh. She said, you need to say thank you. And I was like, okay, I'm going to say thank you from now on. I'm going to say thank you. But it really helped. It really was a difference.
Book, right?
But you know what? I know how much I love when I go out and I see somebody and I appreciate them, whether at the grocery store or the gas station, wherever, and I can appreciate something in somebody, and I give them a compliment and they say thank you. It makes me feel good too. So I think that's important to say. I absolutely love your book, love your journal, and I am telling y'all this right now. From now on, every single person that enters the Unstoppable Life Mastermind, they're going to get a copy of You Grow Girl and your You Grow Girl journal. Like,
oh, thank you.
From now on. No, that's how awesome I think your book is, and how you are, and how much I appreciate you, and how much I know that this book is going to help people. So yes, from now into eternity, they are going to get your book and your journal. But tell people right now how people can get a hold of you both, and how they can get a hold of your book.
Me first?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Either way.
So my website is just julienee.com. It's NEE. And our website is u-grow-girl.com. And our Instagram is at @ugrowgirlcommunity. At ugrowgirlcommunity. And we're building a real community. This is not just a book and a journal. This is a movement to help women of all ages and stages step into their full potential. So we are going to be doing virtual things, and we're going to invite people to come into our Zoom room together, and there will be events, and there will be lots to come. So that's a little bit about the contact info. And how about
that
yours?
was fantastic. And I think that just us together, we would love people to go to u-grow-girl.com and really find out about how they can participate in what we're talking about. And the other things are about me. It's all posted in there on those pages, but I would love for people to start there.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
Well, you will be able, everybody will be able to find your information in the show notes. So if you are listening, I'm like, never know what camera to look at. I'm keeping it real.
So many cameras.
You can find all the info in the show notes on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. And thank you all so much again for joining me on the show. I love you both so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the show, and we'll see you next week.